Hey everybody, Chris Bryant here. Got a CCNP route tip of the day for you. Should take just about 3 minutes. And I've got an OSPF pop quiz and a command review for you. And this one is not going to be a terribly complex config, and we have to deal with those in the route exam, obviously. But we also got to watch the fundamentals and review those rules we learned back in the CCNA studies because sometimes they come back to haunt us. So let's take a look first off at this particular config. And you can see I just wrote a very basic config, reloaded the router, and then wrote something else. Got a couple questions for you on this config. First off, is this an ABR, an ASBR, both or neither? And secondly, what's the OSPF RID of this router when you're all done with this config? Couple straightforward questions. You want to think about that for a minute? Go ahead and pause the video because I'm going to go ahead with the answers here and then show you something on the live equipment as well. And what we've got first off, we do have an area border router because you can see we've got one area 0 and then a non-area 0. So that's our ABR. Now for the router ID. And this seems awfully straightforward, right? I mean, here is the router ID command. And that's what we use to hard code the OSPF RID. Now, what are the two things? We have to do one of two things in order for that command to take effect. Did I do one of them here? And if I did, what's the other one? We need to know both of those. For that RID command to take effect, the router ID command, you've either got to reload the router, which I did, or you've got to clear the OSPF process. So at this point, the OSPF RID would definitely be 2111. But what about adding a loopback later that has a higher numeric value than the OSPF RID? Will that overwrite the OSPF RID? Because, you remember when we learned the RID rules in the CCNA studies, we're all over those loopbacks. And the answer is it will not affect things one bit. Once you hard code the OSPF RID, that value is going to stay the OSPF RID unless you remove this command. But if you leave it on there and then put higher numeric values on for IP addresses for either physical or logical interfaces, it's not going to matter a bit. Let me bring up the live equipment here and remind you of a really important command for your studies. On router 1 here, I've got a real simple adjacency with router 2. And I've got two subnets I'll show you real quick. The all 1's address, the all 11's address. And what I did just for fun is use the network command to put one of those subnets into OSPF. And then I did a redistribute connected subnets. Is that enough for a router to be called an ASBR? I know we have to do route redistribution, but does route redistribution of connected routes count? Don't they have to be dynamically discovered? And as I scroll down here, you'll see that they do not, because I'm on router 2 and I ran this great command and we tend to forget all about it. Show IP OSPF border routers. And that's going to show you your neighbors that are an ABR, an ASBR, or both. And it is indeed perfectly fine for a router to serve as an ABR and an ASBR for a given segment. So a good review of some basic and not so basic OSPF concepts there. Just wanted to make sure you knew that about the loopback addresses being added to the router because I've been asked that a couple of times. And that is about it. Thanks for watching today's route video. I'm Chris Bryant. Thanks for making TVA part of your CCNP route success story.